Hey friends, welcome to my course on the pelvic floor. This is one of my favorite things, maybe my favorite thing to talk about for a variety of reasons, but a lot of them, two of them personal, which I'll get into more at the end of this video. So first, what in the heck is the pelvic floor and why should you care about it? You may have heard about the pelvic floor just in reference to Kegels. So that would be like holding your urine or holding number one or number two. And I find that to be a constipation view to the pelvic floor, instead of really looking at this whole like bowl of the pelvis and how it both supports our torso and keeps our weight up off of our legs and is our center of really a lot of balance and stability. So how do I define the pelvic floor? I define the pelvic floor as anything that touches brief underwear lines. So meaning we've got pubic bone in front, tailbone in back, and the two sit bones on the bottom. So it really is this whole cradle that cradles our spine and keeps our spine off of our feet and off of our knees. So fun fact, a lot of what I found to be knee pain in a lot of people is actually weak pelvic floor muscles. And that kind of gets into why should you care? So if you think about it, as you're sitting, and this is 21st century and I'm recording this in the time of COVID, so we're all sitting quite a bit. So all of those muscles that are in those underwear lines are being supported by a chair all day long, which means they're not really having to work. I don't see standing desks as a cure-all to this because I think that strength here needs to be a bit more dynamic. Why should you care? This is how we balance. This is our center of gravity as we're shifting in gait. So having a solid pelvic floor, strong hips, strong muscles here is just really important to aging well. Kind of what I call is like the fallen and you can't get up muscles. These are the you will get up muscles. So over the course of this video, we're going to go, really over the course of all of these videos, what we're going to go into are all of these muscles that are connecting into this area and troubleshooting strength and common neuromuscular patterns that I see having issue there. So a little bit about how this course is going to be structured. Anytime I'm working with clients, I always work distal to proximal. So in this case, we're talking about pelvic floor. So distal, we could either start at arms, which I do see as being a part of pelvic floor, and I'm just going to even include this in there. Sciatica is definitely piriformis, I consider that to be pelvic floor issues for the underwear reason. But more directly, I usually see the feet, and I usually like starting at the feet. So the course will start, we're gonna go feet up. We will have a part on the diaphragm because as you can see, can't do two things, it's the mirror. That this is related to this and is also related to the jaw. I am also going to integrate a little bit of Eastern philosophy, meaning kind of going back to this idea that there's a lot of people who are crooked out there, and not all of them are in pain. So I will bring in some kind of themes that I've discovered over the years related to that. I'm not big on repetitions. The end of the course will be a beginner kind of exercise sequence that you can do, as well as an intermediate. And then at that point, I just figure if you're able to do those without pain or without any negative consequence, then you are ready to go into a class of some sort. And there's a lot of great resources, both in person and over the internet for that. So now to why is the pelvic floor so dang important to me? I would not be doing this career if I hadn't had my own struggles and issues with it. About 10 years ago in 2009, my father at 53 years old unexpectedly died. And at the time I was a social worker. And so I worked at a desk job, but I was really, really active, like did yoga, ran 35 miles a week. On my way into walking into his memorial service, I felt this twinge in the left side of my lower back. And then pretty much from there on out for about a year and a half, I was in 11 out of 10 pain. Like it was brutal. I couldn't turn over at night without being in pain. I would cry going up and down stairs. I got an MRI for disc issues, came back negative. And all of the holistic practitioners I was seeing was saying it was all, internalized grief. And it's like, I'm crying all the time. I'm letting out the grief. So what I've learned over time is that a lot of what was going on there, one was biomechanical. I have had injuries to the left side of my body and particularly my leg, multiple. but there was definitely an emotional internalization piece, and it wasn't until I dealt with that end of it that things really started to get gone. So it wasn't just about the physical strengthening piece and the releasing piece. So that's one reason. Second reason is my grandmother, my dad's mom actually, has had chronic UTIs for about 25 years. And part of this just happens where, you know, the pelvic floor muscles, like the membranes actually in that area tend to thin over time. And so you just have a bacteria exchange, and yes, it happens. But I can't help but wonder if some of the content that will be in this video, if she had that in her 50s or 60s, or, you know, immediately post hysterectomy, that maybe she wouldn't have aged how she's aged with regard to that, because now she's pretty much immune to every antibiotic on the planet. That said, I don't look at pelvic floor health as a female babies hysterectomies kind of thing. Pelvic floor health, as I mentioned earlier, is all of these muscles in your underwear muscles. So like, it's all of us. It's a male and female issue, and some of those issues can be similar, and some of them are a little bit different, just given, you know, male anatomy versus female anatomy. So just a couple final notes. The content in this video is not meant to be a substitute for an internal pelvic floor physical therapist or even hands-on work. It's meant to supplement other work and also just to give you some thought processes and tools that you could do at home, particularly as I'm recording this during COVID, if you're unable to get out and see someone or don't feel safe doing so. Lastly, if you know anyone who you think would benefit from this, or if you have any comments, please share, please comment, please ask me questions, please let me know if there's content that you would like me to flesh out. I genuinely hope that the content in this course helps you. It comes after a decade, more than a decade, of research both for me and my clients, and just may we all age well.